Welcome to Men, Relationships and Other Fables. If you want authentic, thought-provoking conversations and insights that transform, you are in the right place. I am your host, Nicole W. We learn and grow from those who have done the work and manifested phenomenal success in business and in life. Today, I have Jim Sherwood, the founder and creative director of the Canvas Project. The Canvas Project was started in hopes that through raffles, auctions, and hands-on projects within schools, the money raised from this project will help make a difference in the community and art and education. Thank you for being on the show, Jim.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Nicole, for having me. I appreciate it.
We're excited to have you.
Yes.
So, Jim, please share a little bit about the Canvas Project, how you started, and please share a moment of truth that was a breakthrough for your company.
Sure. So we are a art and lifestyle brand based out of Florida and California. We started here in Tallahassee, Florida, probably about three and a half years ago. We kind of started out as, side hustle. And what we do is we're artists and designers, and we're known for our hand-painted one-of-one custom footwear. We do a lot of painting on many different canvases. We've, done basketballs, footballs, alcohol bottles, stuff like that. But we're known for our custom footwear. And one of the big things about us as well is we support art and education. As you mentioned earlier, one of the things that we do or were doing before the pandemic was kind of going into schools and speaking with kids and students about art and entrepreneurship and business. And, after the pandemic, during the pandemic, rather, obviously, we, haven't been able to go in and do as many hands-on activities. So what we've done recently is we donate art kits to students, something that we came up with whenever someone places a customization order with us or spends over $50 on our website, we donate an art kit, which is 3 paintbrushes, 3 sample sizes of paint, a pencil, and a sticker or magnet from us. And we give that to a student. We have worked with, right now, a lot of different schools all over Florida, and are starting to expand into, New York and California, hopefully Houston soon, Texas. And then part of, I would say, a breakthrough moment for me as the, founder of the business was probably, I'd say last year when we were able to do a pretty cool project, a Black History Month project for the Phoenix Suns. And, they had reached out to us, and we were able to work with 2 different athletes from their team, from their organization. And we painted some really cool custom shoes, and they got to play in the games, and then they wore them and did an auction, after they wore the shoes. And I think that was that moment for us that kind of, as a business, let us know, like, okay, like we can kind of run with the big dogs a little bit. We're definitely capable of taking it to the next level. So I say from then on, we've really kind of tried to step it up and, work on, getting our brand out there and letting people know about our mission of supporting art and education.
That's wonderful. And I'm really just moved by how you're able to use art to showcase Black history.
Thank you.
And then the kids are learning about that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And, a lot of kids, obviously a lot of people talking about sneakers and, what's on your feet and what people are wearing. So it's a really cool way to connect art and that piece of it together, like with the culture. And, we see kids, they're very interested in what we do and a lot of the stuff that, we talk about. So that's fun. That's exciting.
Thanks, Jim. We have a few questions about the real world of business relationships.
Sure.
So we did a survey and we posed this question. What would you ask someone who is successful in business about relationships? So, Jim, here's the first question.
Sure.
When it when it comes to knowing who to trust and who you can work with, what has been your biggest lesson?
Good question. I would say my biggest lesson would be you really have to try your best to work with people, or I should say, build relationships with people that seem like they're going to have the same views or somewhat of the same mission that you have. I think a lot of times, when I first started out, especially with our business we do a lot on Instagram. I think a lot of times you kind of just think that everyone's going to have the same viewpoints as you or the same passions, because it's almost like, oh, well, what I'm doing is so important. And you kind of have to take a step back and be like, well, wait a minute, there's millions of other people out here that are doing, and we're all doing important stuff, So I think what happens is in the beginning, I kind of got a little hung up on, maybe trying to work with people that might have had like a bigger name, or trying to work with people that kind of came across as seeming like they were as into it as, maybe we were or we are, as passionate in some of the things that we do. And I think what you kind of have to do is you really have to sit down and process and really determine whether or not that person or that company or that brand or whatever it may be is really going to be the best fit, because that alleviates a lot of issues down the road of, either being disappointed or business going left or anything along those lines. So I think that's extremely important in regards to, that trust factor is, it's kind of from where it starts. You have to be smart enough to know, like, okay, your first judgment has to be good, basically.
Yeah, I got it. Just understanding whether or not there's alignment.
Yes. That's the word.
So have you ever had someone you're working with try to steal your ideas or put down your ideas?
Fortunately within, our team and some of the people that have, worked with us, no, we haven't had that happen. One thing I will say is kind of more so outside of our camp, in our team, you might see from as artists, you might see a lot of people do certain things and you'll kind of, laugh or giggle to yourself and say, oh, I see where that comes from, or I see where that came from. I'm just gonna kind of keep it to myself. We've had some big brands actually, that we, would like to work with in the future. So we're not gonna say any names, but we have had some bigger brands, that we have kind of felt like, we've had some ideas stolen from us, where, we just kind of sit back and say, oh, wow, okay, I guess people are seeing our work. So it's almost like a form of flattery, if you ultimately want to end up working with some of those businesses or those brands. But those would probably be the biggest examples in regards to situations where I say work has been stolen. But as artists, for us, it happens all the time. So honestly, what we try to do is just be as innovative and as ahead of the curve as we possibly can.
Well, when you said you want to be kind of more innovative and cutting edge, really, it sounds to me like once you observe what other people are trying to do with your work, and it flatters you, and it just has you take your game to a whole nother level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Because it's a challenge if you want to stay creative and stay doing things that are different, and one thing I will say is I don't think it's as difficult as people make it out to be, because if you're just yourself as an artist and you stick to your concepts and the brand, us as our team, we're all different style artists, but we all have the same, the same concepts, views. So you can kind of see that the work comes from the same camp, the same house versus a lot of artists, if you're trying to copy what other artists are doing, it will get noticed.
I have a question. What inspires you as an artist?
What inspires me? Great question. For me, it's the ability to simply just be creative. Because I actually got into art when we started this, but even when we started this, I actually wasn't painting in the beginning. I was doing a lot more of I guess you could say, the creative directing, the social media, the business back end stuff. And then after about 9 months of doing it, then I got into the painting piece. So for me as an artist and working around or working on a team with artists that have actually painted longer than me, I'm an ex-college basketball player. So my background, I played basketball for so many years and spent so much time with that being my main focus that once I got out of school, I was really open to a lot of different things. So now at this point in my life and for the last 3-4 years, my mom is actually like kind of like a part-time retired art teacher. She worked in administration, was an administrator for some schools in Boston for a long, and worked in the Boston public schools for a long period of time. But she, I think that's where some of my skills come in as an artist, because I definitely do things sometimes that come easier to me than when I was like playing basketball and had to spend years working on certain things. And there's certain things I do with art where I'm like, whoa, somebody might have passed this gift to me. So for me, it's every time I paint, it's always something new. It's always something different. I love working with colors. I love working with, designs and different concepts. So for me, it's kind of still the newness of creating. Every time you create something, it's new. I love that. Whereas when I used to play basketball, it can get repetitive. It's a different team every time you play, but it's just like, okay, 4 quarters, 2 halves, whatever it is, whistle blows. Okay, you go home. You could tell I lost some of my love for it towards the end of playing, but I really love art, and wish I had started a lot earlier in life because I love the ability to be creative. I think it's amazing.
It's just out of what you're sharing, what I'm getting is that you're drawing from all of your experiences, like from your life, really, to create what you create. And really, and that's kind of perspective that like your life is a piece of art and you're creating it that way. And that's how I tend to view my life. Like that's why I'm creating a work of art, which is my life.
Yes, exactly. That's a great way to look at it.
Yes. So thank you, Jim. We have another question for you coming right up.
Sure.
Our next question from the survey is, in your experience, can a romantic interest with a business partner work, or is it doomed to be a disruption and a problem for the business?
Sure. Good question. So personally, I can't say I have, as far as, I would say I've had more, corporate jobs or jobs. So not necessarily like a relationship within like my business or a friend's business or anything like that, but more so from places that I've worked or jobs that I've had before I started this business. I would say my answer to that question would be the same as if you were to ask me how I would feel if it was just a friend versus romantic. I would give you the same answer. And the reason I say that is because I think it comes down to trust and communication, which are the same 2 things that you have within a friendship or even within family. You could say with a love, loving somebody within your family, and doing business. I think my answer would probably be the same, because if you have a romantic relationship with somebody business wise that you all have talked about business and you've done business before and that's what y'all that's what your relationship is almost based around. Like, oh, other couples go to the movies and we sit up and watch CNBC and talk about stocks, and that's what your relationship is. So y'all could probably do good business together. But, it also depends on if you have another relationship where no one talks about money within the relationship, then that's probably not the best relationship to be going out and doing business. So I think it's going to just come down to what that trust and communication level is within the relationship, whether it's romantic, family, or friendship.
You're so right. And then there's also like, I would call like rules of engagement, especially
Yes.
around how you're going to conduct business, how you're going to deal with money, which often causes a lot of conflict in relationships, and that's money, especially romantic relationships.
Yep.
So,
for sure.
Yes. And, as you shared about, the couple watching the financial news,
yes.
I think about my husband and I would wake up every morning watching CNBC Squawk Box.
There you go.
And talking about the news, about, the news of the day and how the stock market is impacting, the industries that we work in, how that might impact, our company, how it might impact, his job, how it might impact our investments. So it makes a huge difference if you can establish that. And then, and we would create dates. We create dates around this very thing.
That's awesome.
Like we have business meetings, and and I think that's important for families too.
Yes. Yes.
Extremely. And business partners.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to. It's that being on the same page.
So, do you have a partner in your business? Or are you the sole owner?
I am.
Or someone you could have these conversations with.
Sure. I'm actually the sole owner. We have we have a lead artist, and then we have a young guy. He's a really good friend, like one of my best friends. He's kind of like my right hand man. He's like our director of marketing right now. But he started out as an intern like the beginning of the year, and we've been putting in so much work that me and him, we pretty much discuss a lot of stuff that's going on with the business. But he's still newer to a lot of things. So being that I've been doing it for as long as I have, it's pretty much just me. But I'm as far as how I kind of, we're very creative, so I run I'm not going to say like I don't run a tight ship. I don't run an open ship, but it's just more so, we probably more on the open ship side than anything else, because we talk, we do a lot of discussing and, what makes sense. Because as artists, you really have to sit down and when you discuss, especially finance, we all have to make sure we're getting paid what we're worth or what we feel we're worth,
So how many people do you have on the team?
Just 3 right now.
Are you thinking about expanding? I mean, you shared really awesome news about, doing work in New York and possibly coming to Houston. So.
Absolutely. 100%, looking into expanding. I am the type of person that kind of wants to make sure like the 3 of us are in a situation where, we're already looking into, expanding 100%. But it's a funny thing as artists and like designers, we can't, not only do we have to look at the financial piece, but our ideas and the things that we do are so close to us and important that we have to make sure whoever we bring on is willing to kind of keep and stay within that same realm, because to the level that we want to grow to and get to, we would like to get to a point where there is some type of secrecy to us doing certain things with certain brands, and it doesn't happen for 3 months or 6 months, or, kind of like the Nikes and the Adidases, and, they have a lot of this stuff planned out, way, way beforehand, kind of like we do with a lot of the work that we do. So, We definitely want to look to expand, but I think it's just, making sure we get those right fits versus just, being like, okay, let's add 10 people to the team.
Yeah, no, I got it. Like some organic growth.
Yes. Because I've been doing, me personally, I just stepped away from a full-time job this past January. So was doing this for some time while I had a full-time job, and this was on the side. So, I push myself to the limit when when I have to, but as a, small business, that's what you have to do sometimes.
Do you think about expanding your product offerings? Like I had the opportunity to visit your store. Really impressed. Beautiful work.
Appreciate it.
And I saw like a lot of shoes and T-shirts, and I'm, of course, being a lady, sometimes I'm thinking about purses and belts.
Yeah.
Scarves and things like that. And your artwork is just beautiful. So just thought I'd ask.
Yes, no, that's a great question. We've painted we've done some commission work for a few clients with bags and like leather bags and stuff like that. So that has been fun and awesome. But we haven't we want to try and just overall, do more in regards to catering to the female audience, to be totally honest with you, because we have our marketing guy, John, and then our lead artist, Morgan, is a young woman. Now, she is obviously outnumbered on our team. So we are really trying to do a better job of just catering more to, ladies and do like, I know myself, we do a lot of the colors and the designs that we paint. Like we have a lot of ladies that place commission orders for, footwear and a lot of our hand painted custom work. So that's nice, but we definitely are working on getting more. We have a few designs actually that like a few t-shirt designs and some sweatshirts that will be coming out this holiday season that are definitely catered to the ladies. So we're working on that.
Glad to hear it.
Yes.
So
yeah,
Jim, we're going to take a moment and listen to a track from Billy Buchanan on a segment of the show we call Groove Moves.
Okay.
And you get to vote whether the track gets a smooch and a rose or whether it gets a little fertilizer.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay?
Yes.
So DJ, let's hear Show You Right.
Hey, this next tune is an original song called Show You Right. It's off my album, The Music Man. You got a thing about you, girl, it's no secret. You're easy on the eye. Show you right. The way you move, my darling, your every motion takes my breath away. Show you right. You make me wanna say, ooh, mama, show you right. I love it when you touch me. You send the shivers up and down my spine. Show you right. You make me wanna say, ooh, mama, show you right. Hey, thanks, y'all.
So, Jim, are you giving the track a smooch and a rose?
I'm giving the track a smooch and a rose. I was digging it. That's good stuff right there.
I'm giving the track a smooch and a rose, too. That was old school. That was a flashback. Way back.
Yes, I felt like I was in my dad or my mom's car.
Yeah, I was having the same feeling.
Man, look here. I had to come off mute so I could give it a smooch and a rose too. Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'm going back on silent.
So if you like the track from Billy Buchanan, please check him out at billybuchanan.org. So Jim, are you ready for another survey question?
I'm ready.
Okay. Our next question from the survey is, what are the 3 pitfalls you've seen people fall into when it comes to balancing their romantic relationships and having a successful business?
Sure. So let's see. I would say the first pitfall would definitely be if you are a entrepreneur or a business person, or to be honest, whatever it is you do, and it's going to be taking a lot of time. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is not letting the other person know what stage they're in. Because a lot of times there's a big difference if you've been doing a business for 1 to 3 years versus 5 to 7 years versus 10 to 15 years. Your lifestyle is going to be much different. So I would say that's one thing that can be a pitfall when it comes to balancing business and romantic relationships. A second one I would say would, to be honest, just not being real about what you do or how you make your money, or making like you're making more money than you really are making. I think as a business person and an entrepreneur, it kind of ties into the first, pitfall, but also at the same time, it's different because you still have to be honest with someone about what it is, unless you're working for the CIA or the FBI or something like that, and you can't talk about it. You should really let somebody know, because that, your partner might know, you might have good advice. They might be able to give you advice from a standpoint of somebody who isn't in your shoes, or maybe somebody that has been in your shoes previously. So I think that's a second piece. And then I would say the third and probably, toughest thing that business people struggle with is definitely just making sure you set aside that time and you have that communication with your partner on when you all are going to set aside that time. Because I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs and business people, we tend to go, like I said earlier, push ourselves to the limit. And what happens is we don't, it's not that we don't care about the other person. It's just you might not take that time to even give to yourself, to step away from, being lost in the moment of the constant, work that you're doing. So I would probably make those my main 3.
As you're sharing that, I have had my own experience, having been an entrepreneur and being in a relationship.
Yeah.
And that is, having someone that really understands, your vision and what you're out to cause, and the difference you're wanting to make with what you're creating, and being able to support you through that and not have it be about them.
Yeah.
Like, how can they really enable and empower you into realizing your vision? Because that's really, what you're there for in terms of help supporting them.
Exactly.
Right. So it's got to be a mutual thing.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes I liken it to being, like someone who's like in the limelight, like a professional athlete.
Exactly.
It spends a lot of time, honing their craft, and it just takes a lot. And, and for them to have a successful relationship, it takes a partner who understands that and can support them.
Yes.
So, and sometimes having that partner, like sometimes they may have to get in the trenches with you, and get some things done, or be able to understand that you can't, go to that event that they want you to go to because you have pressing. Yeah. So
100%.
It's a tightrope.
It is.
Yeah. And you're right. It does take the entrepreneur to, be able to understand that it's not all about him or her too. So it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
That is correct.
So I have one final question.
Sure.
There's a lot going on. If you had a magic wand and could change one thing, what would it be?
Magic wand. So I'm gonna I'm gonna split it into two real quick, just two. The first one, I have to say this one because I think about this all the time, especially as an entrepreneur, and just, sometimes not taking times out to eat a meal when you're supposed to. The first one I have to say because I wish I could take a wand and just cure just world hunger in all seriousness, because you're not yourself when you're hungry. You're not yourself when your body's not nourished. And this is part of the the ex-athlete of me talking right now, but it's the truth. Even as an entrepreneur, and having days where I'm like, oof, I should have ate hours ago. I still have the ability to be able to eat. I can feed myself. There are a lot of people in situations out here where they are not having 3 meals a day, and that just sucks. That drives me crazy. So that would be, and then the second piece, I would say, just from a business standpoint, and just the state of the world right now with politics and everything that's going on. I wish as human beings we did a better job of listening, including myself, listening first before we pass judgment on certain things, because I think a lot of times if we misunderstand something as people, we tend to put it into the negative section, or put it into, automatically correlate it to being something negative, because we don't understand something. And that's kind of the entrepreneur side of me, or the business side, where you tell people ideas and you share things with people and you don't get the reaction that you're looking for, and then you kind of just, it's a lot of times because people don't understand. But a lot of times if you're talking to somebody else that's in business, or like another entrepreneur, and you say some type of business idea to them, even if they don't understand it, you'll still get that, oh, I don't get it, but that sounds crazy. So it's, I think as people, just in general, we could do a much better job of listening to each other when it comes to racism, viewpoints on what's going on in education systems from various cities to cities. The list goes on, but I think sometimes we're so quick to talk about our own views and our own opinions, that we actually miss a good opinion. Because if you put 10 people in a room and they all just speak, and nobody listens, nothing ever gets done.
Listening could be the highest form of acknowledgement, because 100%. So few people do it.
Yeah.
And people really want to be heard. And there's something about being heard that just feels so, it's like an act of love, just to have somebody just really hear you.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with you, but just to hear you.
Yeah.
And then you have the experience of having been gotten by another. Makes a tremendous difference.
Yeah. Especially as an entrepreneur and a business person, it's been extremely humbling for me because a lot of times, not even from a conceited standpoint, but you think you might know something, or you think like, oh, I thought this was supposed to be done this way. And then, you talk to somebody else who gives you a piece of information that you might not have even seen coming. And then it's just like, wow, it's so important to listen.
Oh, it's so important. So, Jim, this has been a great conversation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom. So, Jim, how can our listeners learn more about the Canvas Project?
Sure. Our biggest social media platform that we stay the most active on is going to be Instagram, which our Instagram handle is going to be at canvasco.shop. And then our website is going to actually be the canvasprojectshop.com. And our website, we have a lot of cool branded apparel on there, and some video about some of the stuff that we've done with students and hands-on activities. So that's where we are.
Great. Once again, thank you for being our guest.
Nicole,
it's been a really enchanting conversation.
That's great. I really appreciate you all having me on today. And it was great talking to you, Nicole. It really was.
Great talking with you as well, and really learning about the difference that the Canvas Project is making.
Thank you. And great questions too. I appreciate it. You kept me on my toes.
Thank you. I am Nicole W, and you have been listening to Men, Relationships, and Other Fables. Until next time.